This is Travis Wayne Goodsell, and I've been seeing a commercial about the radical alt-left. It's a Republican political ad for these midterms, and it makes me laugh. It's like they think we're dumb. Republicans think we're dumb. The radical alt-left, kittens and trees saved, planting a tree, so radical. It's just hilarious. So I'm not gonna get as many views for this video because nobody's interested in my politics. People are more interested in my church is evil. LDS Church is evil, specifically, videos. I really don't bother much with other religions, but the LDS Church, for example, I'm born and raised in it. I know all about them. I know how they think. I know how they're supposed to think, and I know how the doctrine has changed since I was a little kid, and Mormons are not making the connection that they are alt-right thinkers. And I have a little video clip about that I have to show, the favorite line from the movie Ghostbusters, and here's Bill Murray's take on the alt-left radicals.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Alrighty, mass hysteria. Okay, we all know the Republican agenda. It's about security over constitutional rights. And so there's all these cop movies, all these cop TV shows, all these law shows where it's all about getting the suspect to confess and take away their rights by doing it. Haul them in to interrogate them, and some shows even go so far as to torture them to get a confession, and it takes until the very last 5 minutes of the show and they finally break on the stand or in the jail cell where they confess, yes, I did it, and I'll tell you why. And then you're going, wow, man, awesome show. And it's just, oh man. So yeah, violating our constitutional rights is fun. Yay. That's the Republican agenda. That's the alt-right. They are the ones we're supposed to fear. And so it's hilarious that the alt-right is now producing political ads about the radical alt-left and how they're the danger to society, when the alt-right runs our whole government, all the federal branches. Most of our states are Republican, with Republican governors at the head. It's just hilarious that they think we're so dumb, that they think that Republicans need to have fear instilled in them that the Democrats will plant a tree to destroy America. Oh, you'll get free health care. You won't have to put a second mortgage on your home in order to pay for little Billy's injury at school. Oh man, it's just hilarious that they think we're so dumb, and yet people are actually falling for it. I have people right here in my neighborhood who honestly believe all the rhetoric from the alt-right. I just can't believe it. You know, I tell them, oh yeah, well Trump said this at his rally. And they're like, oh, I didn't watch the rally. It's like, what? I'll quote Trump's book, The Art of the Deal. Yeah, Trump believes in hyperbole. That's his main tactic for tricking people into getting what he wants. Huh? I never read his book. It's like, hello people. You voted for him. You wanted him as president. Did you not do your research on him? Did you just vote for him because he was a great trash talker? It's just unbelievable. You know, when I was 18, I had my first opportunity to vote for the presidential election that year in 1988. And that was when Ross Perot was going to run for president. And I thought, wow, awesome. Somebody different than a Republican or a Democrat. This is cool, man. And I was all set to vote for him, all hyped up. And then he got death threats to him and his family. And he said, I'm going to withdraw from the presidency because of the death threats. And I'm sorry, but, you know, family's more important. And he lost my respect. If you cannot risk being sacrificed for our country, you're not worth being president. You know, the position of president is not a right or a privilege. It is a position of symbolism. You represent America to the rest of the world. And, you know, if he's not willing to die for America, then, you know, bye, see ya. And even though he did come back and say, no, I decided to still run, you know, he lost my respect and I didn't vote for him. So who did I vote for in 1988? Nobody. I voted for Bill and Opus. They ran a comic strip and were advertising that they were running for president, so I voted for them. And my vote never counted, obviously. And it has never counted ever since. I've never voted for Republican or Democrat. You know, I do not want party candidates. We're not supposed to have a party candidate. The Constitution says so. Individual representation. You know, yes, they're voted, so that part is democratic, but they don't belong to a party, because once they belong to a party, we're no longer a republic, because it's the party that's being represented, not the people. And when big business are the ones who bribe with campaign donations, the party sides with the businesses rather than the interests of we the people. And that's a big major problem in our country. You know, we have party government that are bribed to destroy our resources, and they're murdering us. You know, people are dying because of the laws that are being created that destroy the environment and, yes, destroy trees. We had to actually tell people, no, stop it. You've got to replant what you take down. So, yes, we need trees for lumber to build homes, but you need to put back something in its place. Otherwise, you end up with the Dust Bowl that we had in the early 1900s. You know, hey, we'll just farm the land. You know, destruction, dust clouds. You know, that's why we have Tornado Alley. It's because we deforested the place. And so as a result, the climate changes in that location, which results in tornadoes that are designed by the earth to try to repair the environment in that area. And yet we continue to leave it Tornado Alley. So year after year, tornadoes destroy that part of the United States. And it just amazes me how dumb people think we are, who are in positions of power and wealth, who control those in power. But that's the alt-right agenda. They don't care about the environment. They care about making money. And the way to make money is to utilize the resources to have us pay them for the products that they produce from the resources. And they don't care to replenish what they take. And it doesn't make any sense from a business standpoint, because eventually the businesses should know that they're going to run out of resources and they won't have anything to sell us. So what do they do then? You know, the world is going to be destroyed, literally destroyed. Scientists have been raising the warnings for who knows how long, and yet nobody is listening. Nobody cares because they want profit. That's the one thing conservatives focus on. The other thing is they don't care about women. Yes, women who are Republicans, especially here in Utah, an alt-right conservative state. They don't care about you. They want your vote, but they don't care to give you any rights, and thus they're taking all your rights away. In Utah, we had Elizabeth Smart, a 15-year-old girl, kidnapped, and she was taken by Brian David Mitchell, a religious zealot who believed that he is the last days Messiah, and so he was exercising his religious rights. Wow, Mormon Church is now pushing for religious freedom, so why can't Brian David Mitchell have it? And so he took her down to California. He married her, then had sex with her, because, you know, she's now legally and lawfully wedded, even though there was no marriage certificate because the state doesn't recognize his religion. But in his religion, it's perfectly fine. And so she got pregnant and then was discovered back in Utah. For why he came back to Utah, I don't know. If he stayed in California, she would have been gone forever. But he came back to Utah, and somebody spotted her, and she was rescued and restored to her family. But she was pregnant. So what does she do? She doesn't want to have that freak's baby. So what does she do? Because Utah does not allow abortion, despite Roe versus Wade. And so, you know, the LDS Church, of which she belongs to, discourages abortion also. You know, they want people to have babies and then give them up for adoption so that Mormon families can then raise them properly. It's all subtle speech, but it's all alt-right thinking. And the LDS Church used to have, and yes, I know, President Nelson got up on his high horse and said, it needs to be the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, otherwise it's Satan who's in charge. Come on. You know, Flackerman on YouTube channel done a great presentation comparing his recent claims and hysteria to what was spoken of by President Hinckley. Look him up, Flacker Man. It's one of his more recent videos. Yeah, I'm losing my track when I tangent from topic to topic. That's the alt-right thinking. You know, no abortion. And the church used to have an adoption agency. Yes, they used to have an adoption agency where Mormon girls and non-Mormon girls, because they like to impose their morality on people who are not members of their organization. Excuse me. And so they take these babies, who they force these women to have the babies, and then have the women sign over rights to somebody else. And it's often Mormon families, because it's Utah. The majority of the people who want babies are Mormons. Except that then there became this gay marriage issue. And Mormons recognized, uh-oh, if gay marriage is accepted, then we have to allow gay couples to adopt the babies we want for good Mormon households of one man and one woman. And so they withdrew. They stopped the adoption agency, just like they eventually stopped the Boy Scouts. You know, when the gay issue came up, they said, we will be withdrawing in 2019 or something like that. And it's just the senior program will continue the junior program. But now that women, little girls, wanted to be a part of the Boy Scouts, you know, they have the Girl Scout program. The church does not sponsor the Girl Scouts. They only sponsor the Boy Scouts. So for women in the LDS Church, they have a young women's organization, and they have their own awards and things that they get to work on. I can't remember, My Maid Values or something, I don't know. But yeah, so the church hates women. Yes, alt-right conservatives hate women. The church reveals they hate women. They took priesthood away from women. Joseph Smith gave women the priesthood in 1842 in the Relief Society meeting. They were originally allowed to lay their hands on others, women, men, children, and give blessings. Now, in the LDS Church, blessings are different than prayers. And so when you see a Christian or a Catholic, and a pastor will, I bless you, my son, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. And that's the Christian Catholic version of blessings. In the church, however, it's different. When you have the priesthood and you give blessings, it's actually supposed to be a revelatory communication directly from God to the person that you're giving the blessing to. And so it's not a prayer either. It's just, you know, you're supposed to be speaking the word of God to that individual. If you're giving them a blessing of healing, you're supposed to, you know, be healed. And if you watch the April conference of the LDS Church, the new President Nelson chastised the priesthood, the male priesthood, saying you're not giving blessings. And then he took away the high priesthood from the elders of the church. So only leaders can be high priests. Elders, you're out of luck. You ain't never going to get it. And they tried to justify it by one passage, where there's multiple passages in the Book of Mormon, Book of Abraham, Doctrine and Covenants, where it specifically says you need the high priesthood, not just the elder Melchizedek priesthood, but the high priesthood within the Melchizedek priesthood in order to be exalted in the Mormon afterlife. And so, yes, that's the Mormon agenda. They hate women. They took the priesthood away from the women. And Christians, I'm sure you're aware that there are certain churches that are allowing women to be pastors. This comes from Romans 16, where Jania was an apostle equal to Paul. And he even acknowledges that she's kind of an exalted apostle. Now, that's not a 12 apostle. Jesus had different organizational structures. You know, he had the 12, but then there were apostles different from the 12 apostles. And Paul was one of those regular apostles. So he didn't really have much authority. And so why his writings are dominant in the New Testament is beyond me. You know, it should be Peter. If the Catholic Church placed Peter as the head of the church after Jesus died, why isn't the Gospel of Peter in the Gospels? You know, they have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but no Peter. Where's his Gospel? Why isn't his Gospel in there? Well, it's smaller and doesn't include as much information. Yeah, but he is supposed to be the leader of the Catholic Church. Why isn't his documents in the forefront? And so, yeah, but that's, yeah, whatever. I'm talking about alt-right conservatives. And so, as you can see, Mormons follow the pattern of the alt-right Republicans in that they hate women. And the church also segregates blacks. Yes, in 1978, the church allowed blacks to become baptized and go through the temple. But when you realize that the only way to go through the temple is to declare on your temple recommend interview that you are a full tithe payer. Tithing, according to Malachi, in the book of Malachi, is for the poor. Yet the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints does not give tithing to the poor. That goes for buildings, temples, churches. And you think, oh, well, that's fine too, because people need a place of worship. Yeah, but as a business perspective, they own the land. They own the property. That's an asset. And so the church is buying up property all around the world. So when you hear the announcement of a new temple in a foreign country, and I believe there were 12 or 14 in this October 8, 2018 conference. No mention of the Russia temple yet. Wonder why. But yeah, 14 new places where they now own the land and will build property. And it's not just a shack that they're building property on. They're building a very nice property. Very nice temples. Very luxurious, very lavagant, very rich buildings. And so everybody knows when a temple goes up, property values around the immediate area go up. And it's all for profit. It is not revelation from God. It is for profit. And the church, therefore, in 1978, recognized, hey, why don't we let them in, let blacks in, because then we can get more money. That's what they were thinking. You know, all this talk about, oh, we struggled over it, and we searched the scriptures. Seriously? You had to search and think about it? You know, no. It's an obvious given. Joseph Smith was restoring the church as he believed. And so everybody gets restored into the gospel of Jesus Christ. So everybody was allowed in. Brigham Young took it away. And Brigham Young and those who believed in Brigham Young were racist. They discriminated against blacks, plain and simple. The church has blacks in the priesthood or race in the priesthood. Look it up on their LDS.org site. Race in the priesthood, I believe it is. And in there they declare Brigham Young was a racist. But yet then you have President Oaks, who gets up when he was an apostle and says that it was God's will that the blacks not have the priesthood. No, it wasn't. Come on. It was all for money that you guys lifted the ban. And yet blacks are still segregated here in Utah. Outside of Utah, they have no choice but to go to white wards unless a black community all get baptized and a ward is made specifically for them. But here in Utah, they don't have a place to go other than the Genesis group that meet downtown in Salt Lake City. The church eventually recognized that group for having their sacrament meetings. Yeah, blacks have been segregated in this church. And so Republicans, they hate women, they hate the environment, they hate blacks, and yes, they hate immigrants. The church, however, has been embracing immigrants, even though they segregate them with Spanish wards. In the church, they call them wards, churches' wards. There's an organizational structure for wards, then what's called stakes, a tent stake rather than a sizzler stake, and then it goes up to the Big B brethren, the members of the 70 and the Quorum of the 12 and the presidency. But yeah, even though the church here in Utah conceals illegal immigrants from ICE and take care of them and their families, they still segregate Hispanics by having their own ward to go to. And they justify it saying, well, you know, they don't speak English, so it's just better to have a Spanish ward. They have the technology. They can have people who wear earphones. And so if there's a neighborhood, because Utah is segregated as well. You have your Hispanic communities, you have your Samoan communities, your Polynesian communities, Tongan Samoan communities. You also have your poor, and the poor usually include the minorities, but not too many minorities are in Utah, so the poor is the majority of white people. And so there's a class distinction. The east side is typically your richer people, the west side in the north of the valley is your poor people. Down south of the valley, they started building new homes, new suburban homes, and thus they were trying to create a new rich division. Yeah, so that's the Republican agenda, people, and that's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They are one and the same. And this is exactly what Hitler did. Yes, Hitler. He was fascist. He was alt-right. You know, he did all those atrocities. It's the exact same pattern. He fooled everyone. And when they finally realized it, it was too late. He was in power. Nobody could stop him. He had the SS all over the streets, suppressing people, loading them up to the concentration camps if they were among the Jews or those who opposed this new regime of alt-right conservatism. And that's what we're seeing today under Trump. He got into office because Putin put him there. Putin altered our votes. Our votes didn't count. Just like my vote didn't count back in 1988 and has never counted since. You know, Brewster's Millions has a great concept that America refuses to adopt. It's voting for none of the above. We need that option when we are only given two parties to choose from. We need to tell our government we do not want parties, and so we need to be allowed to vote none of the above, so that the government is forced to make changes on who can run to be president. I, as a regular citizen, cannot run to be president. They have set up the system to prevent lowlifes like me from ever daring to become president. And yet, you know, they try to tell people in school, even girls, you can be president one day. And they give positive affirmation that, you know, gives us false hope that we too can be president one day. They don't tell us that we have to choose which party to run in. And so we have to either run as a Republican or a Democrat. And women, blacks, minorities, if the poor, if you want to have an option to get into the presidency, you have to be a Democrat, because the Democrats are the only ones who will accept you, and as long as you accept their platform and demonstrate loyalty to the platform, you will advance up the ranks. Just like in the Republican Party, as long as you adopt their program, you will advance up the ranks. That's why white men run the Republican Party, because they fit the platform and they rise up the ranks. Women get suppressed. Yes, there are senators who are women who run for the presidency and in local states and such, but for the presidency, no. I mean, Geraldine Ferraro, when she ran for president, I think she was also a Democrat. I don't think she was Republican. And so that's how it works. Republicans are fascists. They're Nazis, because Nazis are fascists. They're all one and the same. They just call it different names, and there's slight differences between them, you know, but they're all of the same cloth. And you guys need to realize that we are in great danger, an imminent threat, because the midterms, Putin is going to alter the midterms. It's already happening with the primaries. Georgia, it's now revealed conclusively that Russia altered and suppressed the votes in Georgia. Trump did not win in Georgia. It's a fraud election in 2016. It has to be done over. And we can't have Trump running for president again, because once we have to do over an election, boom, Mueller's got him, and the Southern District of New York's got him, and everybody who else is filing lawsuits, they've got him, and he's screwed for life. And so Trump isn't going to allow this. He's going to remain in power for the rest of his life. You know, you don't realize that. You know, when Trump leaves office, he is subjected to criminal prosecution. And he knows that. We all know that. If you're Republican, you should know that. Democrats all know that. And so that's why they're now talking about the 2020 election. Because, oh, we can vote out Trump. You know, it's not going to happen, because the midterms, nothing's going to happen. You know, people are thinking, oh yeah, the House is going to be a blue wave. It doesn't matter. The House only impeaches. They don't indict. So unless the Senate also becomes completely majority Democrat, Trump ain't leaving office. And so it's not going to happen, people. You know, how long can we last before you rise up and say no more? You know, it's too late now because you've seen it. Those radical left-wing, you know, alt-left, they're getting arrested for protesting. They're being called a mob. They're called violent. You know, Antifa, it means anti-fascist, anti-Nazism, anti-conservatism. You know, they want constitutional rights. Everybody should. You know, all the police shows show how we violated the Constitution to catch the bad guy who confesses in the last 5 minutes of the show. So what's it going to take, people? Where's your breaking point? You know, CNN, that fake news, I'm sure it was all rigged. Those weren't Republicans, they were Democrats who were saying that they were disappointed and want to change their vote. You know, that's what Republicans do. They're in power, and yet they're claiming deniability. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Nothing like that ever happened. No, you can't be serious. Oh, a opposing reporter who lives in America, who spoke out against Saudi Arabia, who's bribing me with multi-billions of dollars. No, kill him. I mean, fake news. He tripped and fell, or the mob got him. Democrats, they're behind the conspiracy. And you guys, they think we're dumb. So what's it going to take? You know, is it going to take you and your kids, your Republican family, being hauled off to a concentration camp? Is that what it's going to take for you to finally wake up and go, oops? Is it going to take losing your job because you didn't you didn't put your hand up when you were saying the national anthem? What's it going to take? When, you know, when your son, you know, is upset that he doesn't get his favorite toy, so he doesn't say the Pledge of Allegiance in school, so he gets hauled off to the principal's office and gets kicked out of school for a few days for not showing loyalty to the Republican Party. Is that going to cause you to break? What's it going to take? Is it little Billy getting lead poisoning from the water that you're drinking? What's it going to take? When is enough enough? When are people going to realize, hey, wait a minute, this is wrong? You know, are you going to wake up when you walk out of your home and the cops give you a ticket for having your newspaper on the lawn, which is some kind of violation of loitering laws, or not loitering, littering laws? What's it going to take? You know, we don't have firefighters going around giving people tickets and breaking in their homes to search for fire violations. But that's what police are doing. They're driving around looking for violators of crime. We don't have medical EMT ambulances driving around, you know, forcing people to have heart attacks so that they can take them to the hospital. Or giving out tickets. Hey, you're not running fast enough. Get it going. Go, go, go. We're giving you a ticket for being slow. You know, or going around saying, oh, we're doing a fat check. And they pull out the little device that tests the amount of fat your body has. and then give you a ticket for being overweight. You know, they don't do that. But it'll happen. It's happening in other ways. Insurance, for example. If you're overweight, they make you pay more, or they deny you service. That's conservatism. What's it gonna take? You know, ransom economy. I've done the other video. Look it up. What's it gonna take? You're being extorted for loyalty at the expense of your family, your life, and you still get treated like crap. What's it going to take? When is enough enough? When are you going to realize that conservatism is wrong? And I hope you understand, I don't want Democrats in power either. They're a party government. It's supposed to be individual representation, not party government. Because there are many things that the Democrats do wrong. You know, corporate PAC money is the big thing that progressives are now pushing against the Democrats. There's division among the Democrats now. So what's it going to take? The Constitution already tells us what our rights are and what we are to be held accountable for violating others' rights. We don't need lawyers. We just need a court that will hear our petition for redress of grievances. And conservative government does not allow petitioning for redress. They do not allow protest. It is a crime to protest, and you get thrown in jail as a mob, as a terrorist for protesting. So when little Billy gets lead poisoning, when little Billy doesn't put his hand over his heart for the Pledge of Allegiance, when what's it going to take? When is enough enough? Because now it's too late. Hitler, Trump is in office, and it's a full conservative party running our government. And murder is going on, because that's what Republicans do. They murder to cover things up, to allow them power to continue to control things. Democrats are never going to take back government. It's over. Trump is the last president, just like the 1900 book said. You know, yes, there were 2 books put out by the author in 1900. If you don't know about it by now, then you're not up to date on things. You know, one was Baron Trump's Amazing Adventures, or Amazing Journey. Then the other was 1900, The Last President. And so, how did Trump get on the Forbes 400? He claimed to be Baron, John Barron. John is Trump's middle name. Barron is the guy from the book, Baron Trump. And so what has he named his youngest son through Melania? Baron Trump. He knows. It's all planned, premeditated. Trump is the last president, and he's doing it to cover up his crimes from his past and to commit future crimes and all that he's doing as president. So that's our imminent threat, and so it's too late. We have no choice now but to declare civil war, declare independence again, and have a revolutionary war again. And they will come after us. They will accuse us of being traitors and treasonous and conspirators, just like King George did to the American colonists. And King George sent his troops to quell the rebellion. The National Guard will be called out. The police will be called out. People will die when we fight for freedom against a corrupt government. That's what we have to look forward to. Because otherwise you're going to die in silence as you hide and cower in your so-called homes that you have to continually pay for the rest of your life to live in, knowing that if you get sick and no longer get a paycheck, you lose everything. So are you going to die as a coward, or are we going to stand up and fight for freedom? They're going to go on a full assault. They are in control. They are in power. They do not want to lose it. What's it going to take for you to say no, no more? It ends now. And yes, one person, me, I can't do it alone. I can't go up to Washington and say, let my people go. You know, I'll get arrested as a traitor and a treasonous and never be seen ever again. And who knows, now that Saudi Arabian prince is using bone saws to disassemble his opposition, maybe Trump's going to get that idea. Hey, Hillary, we won't lock her up anymore. We'll just use a bone saw. You know, when the Chinese emperor declared himself emperor for life, Trump said, that's a great idea. I'll have to think about that. What's it going to take? You know, I have to put in some kind of church title in order for people to watch this, because if I just do a Republican title, nobody's going to watch this. So Mormons, what's it going to take? You know that Joseph Smith prophesied the Constitution would hang by a thread. You know this. You've heard the rumors. You've heard the secret story. Guess what's going on? Joseph Smith was actually wrong. It's not hanging by a thread. It's not hanging at all. It's been trampled under and burned. It no longer exists. What's it going to take? When is enough enough? When are you guys going to wake up? There shouldn't be a single woman who sides with conservatism, because her rights are being oppressed. And so for women to say, I love oppression, this is great, it's what I deserve. Victims of abuse say that. I deserved it, I shouldn't have done, I shouldn't have spoke out and wanted my freedom and my rights. I was in the wrong. You know, come on, what's it going to take? You know, what's it going to take? Maybe that should be my title. What's it going to take, Mormon Republicans? We'll try that.